Well, we thought we were done, but guess what? We were not correct about that. We are back here for the Kickin' the Tires lower half dash, and what other place to send this thing off before real racing gets started back up in the NASCAR National Series than at Talladega Super Speedway. The Pro Light 4 trucks is what will be running tonight for tonight's edition of the Kickin' the Tires lower half dash. Good evening, everybody. My name is Blake McCandless. I'll be joined alongside up here in the booth and in the production trailer with Zach Johnson, who has once again returned here to provide you coverage of this interesting event. Zach, we've had an entire season's worth in the last couple of weeks of racing. Bailey Curry ended up winning the championship in that official series, but these guys decided that they just haven't had enough, and so they had to put this together. Bit of a last-minute deal, but nevertheless, still a full field out here to try to do battle here at Talladega, and as we've become accustomed to, going to be a wild show tonight.
Oh, it's going to be absolutely insane. We already got some laps coming in. This is qualifying that you're watching right now. Brad Perez, the provisional pole sitter with a... Oh, my scoring just messed up. With a 1:13... minute 13, so pretty long laps around here and a pretty long race, 40 laps, I believe.
Yeah, that is right, Zach. We will see 40 laps of our main event right now. It is a 10-minute qualifying session, of which they're only allowed to run 10 laps, but they couldn't get 10 laps in 10 minutes if they wanted to. So this is pretty much a session that will run out in its entirety. We'll see 2 heat races, of which everybody will, of course, transfer on to the main event tonight. After 3-lap heats, we'll move on to a 40-lap main feature here at Talladega. And, of course, as you see the times scrolling across on your board, it's roughly, let's call it 73-second lap times, 75-second lap times that these guys will be running. Of course, of note, these guys and gals that are out here tonight running in a group qualifying session, but the one caveat of that, of course, is that any contact or incident points that you earn in qualifying will disallow your time. Right now, Matt DiBenedetto takes the qualifying lead over Brad Perez with a 69.535, and it looks like he's going to pull off the racetrack after that lap. Maybe he thinks he did a good job, but the one thing about tonight, Zach, and of course this was not more evident than after Daytona when we were running these exact same trucks over there. Qualifying, it's not going to play a big factor in this thing, let's be honest.
Yeah, because we still have 2 heats. That will actually determine the order, but this still will get you a good starting position for that duel. Yeah. Sorry.
Oh, it's okay. We know Zach very busy doing a lot, taking on a lot of responsibilities tonight. He's down there in the control room making sure we got everything set and ready to go and providing the picture that you see out there on your screen, all the graphics going on. Zach Johnson is in charge of that. And, of course, as we mentioned before, my name's Blake McCandless, and we'll be side by side with you here in the booth, bringing you all the action tonight in the Kickin' the Tires lower half dash. But as mentioned before, this has been going on for a couple of weeks. It all started way back about a month and a half ago. We took some dirt street stocks to Eldora. We took the Pro 2 light off-road trucks to Watkins Glen. Then to Daytona, the 2.5-mile oval there at Daytona. We obviously ended up running another race in these trucks at Daytona. However, we took to the road course last weekend for the series finale as far as points were concerned. And, of course, we come forward to tonight where points are not the issue at hand. These guys obviously just wanted to come out, have some more fun before everything gets going back. Of course, iRacing has been a good outlet for these guys the last couple of weeks to get their racing in, and they've decided they want to have one last hurrah before things really get started, particularly this weekend at Darlington, where you'll see a couple of races taking place this weekend. Something that I know every fan, Zach, is looking forward to seeing, but nevertheless, I think it's good to get one last hurrah out of this and send this off properly at Talladega. No better place to do it at.
Yeah, I'm just really glad to see like I know NASCAR coming back tomorrow, or tomorrow or Sunday, I believe. Can't wait for that to happen. Yeah, basically about everything you said. I am not used to this. I am so sorry.
No, you're good. We'll work with you here, Zach, as we continue to move forward. Right now, the lap time that Matt DiBenedetto put up a little bit earlier in the qualifying session still stands as the provisional pole, as we still have about 3.5 minutes, let's call it, remaining in this qualifying session. Right now, David Kriske puts up a new lap that goes to second on the board, just about a tenth and a half behind Matt DiBenedetto at a 1 minute 9 second .667 lap. Big pack about to cross the start finish line right now, as we have about 3.5 minutes left in qualifying. And we got a new time at the top of the board. Several new times surpassed Matt DiBenedetto's marker. Ryan Vargas now moves to the top of the board. 69.291 second lap for him. And just behind him, it is Brad Perez, one of the names we've really become familiar with over the last couple of weeks, who has really been putting on some strong performances. And obviously, he is just 6/1000ths of a second behind Ryan Vargas there in the top spot. So 3 minutes left in qualifying. We want to remind you that Kickin' the Tires was started by Jerry Jordan in 2000. Kickin' the Tires is a multi-platform motorsports media outlet primarily focused on NASCAR, but also covering AMA Supercross, the IMSA Sports Cars, NTT IndyCar Series, local short track events, and major one-off racing events, and for other genres as well. You can stay informed and up to date on what happens in and around the garage by visiting kickinthetires.net, and of course that will include coverage, whether, as Jerry Jordan was telling us a week ago, whether they want to or not, Kickin' the Tires will be there to cover a little bit there at Darlington. So, of course, you want to get all the best coverage at kickinthetires.net. But as mentioned earlier, Bailey Curry, the champion of this series through 4 weeks, he takes down what was a Universal Coin prize that was really unique. One of the couple of prizes that they gave away, but we've seen everything. We've seen coins given away. We've seen lobsters mailed to some of our competitors. So no prizes tonight. This is just for pride, and I think we're just about ready to get going here. As again, we still see a lot of the same times up at the top of the board. Kriske in third, Perez in second, and Ryan Vargas right now holds the provisional pole time.
I'm watching that 8:53. The thing with group qualifying like this, the fastest cars, you'll see them from the back of the pack try to get that big draft, try to get a run on everybody. Justin's been hanging in the back for this lap, and I'm curious if he's going to get, how good of a time he's going to get.
Well, I think that's a good point, Zach, because, the thing with these trucks is obviously these things are limping around here at, we'll call it 137 miles per hour, and Justin Malillo came up just short. You were just talking about it. He'll be able to might be able to get one more lap in. If this one does count, we'll be surprised. Obviously, if he records an incident point over the course of this lap, it won't count. But obviously, fuel with these things and being able to take fuel out and not have as much fuel will play into these speeds. And obviously, the lighter the truck is with how these things are limping around here, they'll go a little bit faster. So this is the time for a guy like Malillo and a couple of these drivers who have basically been running qualifying entirely out to run as much fuel out of these things as possible and then eventually make their time. Although Malillo's in the middle, four wide, and there's a contact, so that lap won't count for Malillo. Doubt it'll count for DiBenedetto, as he just made contact with Ryan Ellis, who scraped the wall. So a lot of these times will be disallowed here, but I think right now it's going to be Ryan Vargas who takes down the pole, unless any of these laps really surprises us here as the 10-minute clock approaches. Well, guess what? Nobody made it back to the stripe out of that pack anyways. So it is Ryan Vargas who wins the pole. He'll start position number 1 in our first heat of the night. And we'll give you the lineup right here. Heat number 1, led by Ryan Vargas. It'll be Brad Perez, who rolls off to his outside in row number 1. David Kriske will roll off in 3rd. Justin Malillo in 4th. Matt DiBenedetto on the inside of row number 3 in 5th. Austin Kimbrell in 6th. It'll be A 10 cliche there in 7th, Noah Lewis in 8th, Ryan Ellis in ninth, and then Hesnot will round out the top 10. Tim Johnston in 11th, 12th is Bailey Curry, 13th Enrique Torres, 14th Stephen Ellis, 15th is Jeff Green, 16th is Daniel Saponsky, 17th Will Rogers, 18th Seth Eggert, 19th Andrew Hawley, and 20th is Paul Sutton, 21st Mason St. Hilaire, 22nd Matt Lady, 23rd Justin Schuler, 24th Scott Holler, 25th is Jerry Jordan, 26th is Ford Martin, 27th William Paulette, and 28th is Josh Dowell. Only one heat, and I think we're not even going to wait on, or yes, we do have a pace car today. So that threw us for a loop last week, Zach. We didn't have a pace car. We were at the Daytona Road Course, and they just went. And Jacob Seelman and I, of course, our partner up here the last couple of weeks, got caught a little bit off guard. But the iRacing Mustang pace car is out there, so we'll take one lap around here, although second heat is out of this thing, Zach. We're only going to run one heat to set this lineup for tonight.
And that's something I've actually liked about the series, how like we've had standing starts, rolling starts, road courses, dirt tracks. This has been a variety of pretty much everything that iRacing has to offer, so it's cool to see something different. It's cool to see something that's what I've liked about this series from the start.
No, and that's one thing that not only in the starts, the cars that we've run, the tracks that we've come to, I mean, we've just been all over the place. We've been at Daytona twice for a road course and the 2.5 mile super speedway. Come here to Talladega, Watkins Glen, Eldora, so we've pretty much hit everything. We've hit road course, we've hit dirt, we've hit asphalt oval. Pretty much the only thing these guys haven't done that is available on the iRacing service that actually these Lucas Oil Off-Road Racing Series Pro Light 4 trucks are used for is to not just go across ovals, but it's to make jumps. It's to be rally trucks. That's what these things are mostly known for. So that's about the only thing we haven't done. And Zach, I think this may be a setup for tonight, but I think I just saw somebody in the back of the pack. I think it was Bailey Curry who climbed the fence and did a couple of somersaults here on the back straightaway, but his car is okay. No damage out here, so obviously any damage that Bailey Curry incurred right there, he doesn't incur any damage. The damage is turned off, so these guys, they can beat and bang. A reminder that these drivers cannot go below or into the grass. They can go below the yellow line. So the yellow line talk we've heard in NASCAR for years, well, guess what? We just throw that out the window for tonight. That yellow line is in bounds for tonight. However, the grass is not, Zach, until the last lap. And we actually submitted a highlight of that Daytona race where they could go through the grass, and that made iRacing's top 10. So we may see another top 10 worthy moment tonight as we come to the final lap. So we'll set things up for you. Heat race number 1. It's our only heat of the night. It is 3 laps, and all it does is set the grid for the starting lineup for our main feature. So if you can imagine at Talladega, qualifying not all too important. This heat may not be all too important, but nevertheless, these guys are going to test things out and really duke it up. Bailey Curry will bounce to the outside as the green flag falls. Matt DiBenedetto, as you can see, out of bounds regularly, but is in bounds right now. He'll go to the bottom side. It is 3 wide. Now DiBenedetto looking for a piece of the race lead as he takes the short way around here at Talladega. His truck has enough grip, but now he has no drafting help. It's going to go to Ryan Vargas up there in the top spot. Now a shot back there from DiBenedetto. They're 3 wide. They're 4 wide. They're 5 wide. They're 6 wide here in the back of the pack, Zach. This is incredible.
3 wide for the lead. Ryan Vargas tried to get that lead back with help from the 26 machine. And they're 4 wide. This is so hard to cover. Oh, 6 this round.
A couple of trucks go up. Matt DiBenedetto. Oh, one car is absolutely, he took flight and he hasn't reached, actually he reached the sky here. He was put back into the pits. Tim Johnston is rolling here in turn 3. A couple of guys. Everybody was involved in that. DiBenedetto was in it. Matt Lady. Stephen Ellis was turned around. Jerry Jordan. Andrew Hawley. A couple of drivers escaped. Call it about 10 or 15 or so. And, Zach, that's how the writing on the wall is. That is lap 1 of 3. And, my goodness.
I remember y'all having the hardest time trying to cover this for the Daytona Oval race. This is like, these are longer. This track is wider. This is going to be crazier. This is just the heat.
It certainly is. I don't even think we'll have to go to a Jacob Seelman octave change for 3 wide tonight. Maybe we'll have to do it when we eventually see 5. Right now, Vargas trying to block for the lead. He's 3 wide for the lead with Brad Perez to his bottom side. Now they're 4 wide between Jeff Green, former Busch Series champion a couple of times in green. Now Curry on the top side. They're 4 wide. Now Green gets a shot. Oh, there's 3 more trucks up and over. Ryan Ellis is up and doing some flips for us here in turn 3. As, again, a couple escapes. Seth Eggert, Justin Malillo, Bailey Curry's involved in that. They're still battling up here, though, for the race lead. Ryan Vargas has not been able to get away from Cliche there in second. Torres in third, and they're still 3-4 wide behind them. Zach, how is this going to work for 40 laps? We're white flag now for heat race number 1. My goodness, we're not even a tenth of the way through our feature yet. This is going to be insane.
I knew from the start they were beating and banging on the pace lap. Like this, these guys are crazy.
They certainly are. White flag in the air here for heat race number 1. This only determines the starting grid that will roll off from in qualifying. It is still Vargas out front, who has somehow managed to hold off this entire hornet's nest of a field. Now they're 5 wide back behind him as Vargas now a challenge for the race lead. Cliche up the middle to the outside. He has the almost aptly painted iRacing pace truck in Hessnault there on the outside. They're now side-by-side door banging here in 3 and 4 for the final time. It's Cliche, it's Vargas, so they go up and over behind them. Now Justin Schuler looking for a way around Ryan Vargas. Vargas gets hooked here. That's going to slow them up a little bit. Now the race lead goes to Austin Kimbrell. Cliche to the outside. Here comes the grass move from a couple of drivers, Brad Perez and Ryan Vargas looking for it. At the stripe, they bang off each other, and how about it? Cliche somehow inches everyone out, and he's going to take down the win next to Austin Kimbrell, Brad Perez, Will Rogers, and Enrique Torres, your top 5. And, I just have to catch my breath, Zach. There's nothing else to do. My goodness, I can't believe that's just 3 laps. This race is going to be absolutely insane. Of course, these drivers were going a little bit harder in this race than they would for 40 laps, being a little bit more aggressive. But my goodness, Zach, this is going to be something. And we'll change over here. This is where we'll get things, where the rubber meets the road, so to speak. That was a fun little 3-lap feature for you, and they'll line up just as they finish, as you see there on your screen. They'll line up just how they completed the results in heat race number 1. Cliche, Kimbrell, Perez, Rogers, Torres, your top 5. Vargas, Schuler, Green, Hessnault, Lewis, and Saponsky rounds out the top 10. Hawley, Haller, Ellis, DiBenedetto rounds out the top 15. St. Hilaire, Jordan, Pelote, Sutton, Eggert, and Curry, your top 20. Justin Malillo, Ford Martin, Matt Lady, Stephen Ellis, Tim Johnston, David Kriske, and Josh Dowell once again. If he does make it out here, I think he's doing a little bit of race control right now. So I believe it's just going to be 27 trucks who roll off here. 40-lap feature. Assuming at some point that these drivers, they definitely cannot go the entire length of this race on fuel. So at some point they'll have to pull down, and whether it's a competition yellow, whether it's under the green flag, these guys will eventually have to make pit stops here because these trucks, not necessarily large fuel tanks in these trucks, just actually 12 gallons that they can load in here in these trucks. And with how these things are not accustomed to running around 140 miles an hour around a 2.5 mile oval, or 2 2/3 mile oval rather, here at Talladega Superspeedway, they're definitely going to have to make some stops, and we'll also have to watch for overheating. That's also been a problem. 78 degrees out here, though, 104 track temperature, and that's going to continue to go up as these guys slide around. But, Zach, I think as we just saw, every inch of this racetrack that is covered in pavement is going to be in play for this feature.
God, this is gonna be. I know this is gonna be insane. I did to point on your, or to go off your point on fuel. I did a test session earlier in the day, and I know we can do about 10 laps on fuel, roughly. So I guess it'd be interesting to see if they do like stages or something like that, since it'll be able to get even 4 parts. I guess we'll see how that comes into play.
Yeah, we'll see what their thinking is here in race control. Of course, if they can go 10 laps, they may just let this thing run out. I assume at some point. I highly doubt that we could go an entire 40 lap screen without something going amiss on this racetrack. So I'm sure at some point they'll bunch these guys back up, even if they don't throw the yellow flag initially if there's a big accident. At some point, as we've been accustomed to over the last couple of weeks, they'll throw some type of yellow flag out there on the racetrack. But we appreciate you tuning in to STN to watch the Kickin' the Tires lower half dash. As we finished up the championship, we are just here having a good time as the iRacing pace car will pull onto the safety of the pit lane. Don't think we'll be waiting too long before we call him back out once again. Field will be under the control of Cliché, who won that heat race, and they are green flag racing here at Talladega. Big jump and push for Austin Kimbrell, courtesy of Will Rogers, and they're already looking 4 wide for second. Down on the bottom side, underneath the apron is Brad Perez, then the 26, Vargas on the middle as they'll work it in. Now they're 4 wide for second. They completely scatter in the back of the pack. They're now 5 wide further behind them as everybody just looking for room. Brad Perez is going to get up and turned over. He's going to do some barrel rolling several times here down the back straightaway as he'll now nearly kiss God with his truck as he flips down here. He's the only truck that gets involved in that. Somehow they continue to scatter forward up at the front of the field. And again, we see it once again, door to door. 4, now 5, and 5 is not going to work. They crash it. Oh, my goodness. Couple of trucks rolling over. Once again, Ryan Vargas is involved. A couple of trucks turn over, but who escapes out of this with the race lead? Right now it is Torres, Rogers, DiBenedetto, Cliché, and Ellis, your top 5. And an entire race worth of action here already. But we come around and we'll just put 1 of 40 on the board, Zach.
I really thought these guys were going to take it easy because it's 40 laps. It's a long race. You have to worry about pit strategy and all that. Nah, we're just going to wreck them all up lap 1, turn 1.
Yeah,
oh, God.
That seems to be par for the course. As DiBenedetto, who led lap number 1, gets shoved out of the race lead. Cliché is now bouncing off a couple of trucks as he was in the middle 4. Now he's in the middle 5. He'll shove Melillo. One truck, the pace truck, gets turned over, and I guess they can't figure it out. Andrew Hawley gets turned over by Cliché. Melillo was involved in that. So now, after 27 trucks took off for the green flag, it is, we'll call it, 6 trucks that have escaped out of that melee who catch up to the lead. More are still trying to catch up behind. It is Will Rogers up front. It is Torres on the bottom side in second. Matt DiBenedetto third. Paul Sutton fourth. Ryan Ellis, your top 5, as they're now 2 wide. And now call it 3 wide back there in the pack is 4. Martin looks to the inside. Ryan Ellis looks to make it 4. And Ellis up the middle 4 wide. He's trying to make a charge from 7th to 1st in just a corner. He gets bumped out of the way. DiBenedetto will make contact with Martin. He gets shoved out of the groove. And now we're 5 wide for oh, goodness, Zach. What is going on here? Paul Sutton, got to give a shout-out to him and the bunch of jerks on that machine. The Carolina Hurricanes machine up here at the front, showing these guys how it's done. So good for Paul Sutton, but he leads 1 lap. But as we've seen, Zach, leading 1 lap, don't think it makes much of a difference. They're now 5. They're now 6 wide for second.
And they're still they're trying to wreck every corner. There's 2 cars in the wall. 3. Oh, God. I was going to try and help you with this, but this is like chaos.
They almost look 6 wide there off the corner, and I want to see if we can get 8. I think that's about as far as we can go before these guys hit each other. If we can get 8 wide, we'll consider this a success. Ryan Ellis back up through the middle of the field as they're 3 wide for first. Former champion and Bailey Curry up there mixing it up for the race lead. Now he'll get passed outside from Will Rogers, who has drafting help from the 71 of Ellis, and Paul Sutton, our race leader that last time by, who has fallen all the way back to 5th. Will Rogers looks like he may lead it at the stripe, but here comes Ford Martin up the middle. Now Paul Sutton will go with him as, again, up here at the front of the field, it's about 8, call it 9 trucks as a straggling Matt DiBenedetto attempts to catch back up with this field. There's an entire second pack that is formed as well, led by Daniel Saponsky, Jeff Green, Justin Melillo, Cliché, and Ellis So a couple of drivers, Zach, that I was talking about getting just completely turned around, they're already formed up in a second pack, and they're running down our race leader. So this may be a 17-truck battle for the race lead here in a couple of moments.
They're actually running slightly faster laps than the main pack, so I'm wondering if these two packs are gonna merge and they're just gonna create one giant mess again.
Well, I think that's what we're looking forward to. Is Tim Johnston? He's the last of that 17 car breakaway, I guess we'll call it, from the front of the pack. Saponski, that last time he led that second pack, was about a second faster, so you have to think the draft from that first pack is leading and helping the second pack, and also the racing up here at the front of this first pack is making a difference as well. They're 3 wide, 2, now almost call it 3 rows deep, as now going to the race lead. Emerging on the bottom side is Bailey Curry, who takes the top spot of the stripe. Bailey Curry up to the top spot. He has Ryan Ellis, who's now looking for a piece of the race lead. He's in the middle side, just 2 wide now for the race lead. And oh, here comes that second pack that is now all but caught. This top pack is now, they almost mix things up. 1 truck into the outside wall is Will Rogers, who collects it up. Ford Martin gets a shove from Cliche, and now here comes that second pack. Oh, here they go, 3 wide for the race lead. Big run from Cliche, or excuse me, the 11 machine of Jeff Green. Jeff Green going to get caught between 2 trucks. He's going to spin Bailey Curry around, but he'll keep it rolling. So Curry gets involved. Oh, and a couple of trucks flip here. It's Torres. Ellis is flipping, Stephen Ellis rather. Another truck gets turned in that. It is Jeff Green who gets caught up in that. So now, after all of that, we'll call it about, 8, 9 trucks at the front. Matt DiBenedetto, Mason St. Hilaire, his former general manager, and Tim Johnston. That's all that's escaped. Everybody else well behind this battle. Those 3 trucks are going to have to pair up, or else I think about the 10, 9 or so up here at the front, they're going to pull away from DiBenedetto, St. Hilaire, and Tim Johnston.
Side by side for the lead. Still, somehow, Will Rogers trying to get a run on Ryan Ellis, series. One of the guys that's been running the league.
He has been. Ryan Ellis has been instrumental in helping put on this kick in the tires lower half dash. Ellis up there in the front of the field as he's being shoved pretty handily by Cliche there in second. Will Rogers in third, Will Rogers, we were just talking about him like a straightaway ago, being caught in the outside wall, and he is now battling for the race lead. So it's Lady now in the middle, as once again Will Rogers will get a nice shot. He's able to keep his truck going straight. Cliche trying to make a move past Ryan Ellis in the race lead. They're now 3 wide behind him on the apron. Ellis goes to the apron to make the block, but he's not going to be able to protect the move from Cliche, who now takes it to the top spot. They're 2 wide, now 3, as Paulette once again working underneath the yellow line, trying to make a move by. Now the top side trying to come in effect as Rogers will look 4 wide for the race lead at the stripe. It's Ryan Ellis. Ellis gets a door from Cliche, looking to side draft. Rogers on the top side, 3 wide. They're now 3 wide, 2 rows deep. Here comes Saponski on the bottom side. He'll look to make it 4 there in that second lane for just a moment. Now they're 3 wide back there for 4th. They're 3 wide for 1st. They're looking 4. And to the race lead goes the 1 machine for just a moment in William Paulette. Now it's Paul Sutton in the middle side who will blink out just a second. He'll provide drafting help to a Washington Capitals fan in Ryan Ellis. Now they're 4 wide for 2nd. What is going on? Paul Sutton, a little bit of contact, a little bit of net code there. Is Sutton going to be able to collect it? He is, so Sutton gets shoved out, but he'll be back up there in about a lap or so. And again, it's about, let's call it 7, 8 trucks up here at the front. Paul Sutton and Matt Lady hanging on to it, but what we were talking about earlier, Zach, Matt DiBenedetto, St. Hilaire, and Johnston, just that 3-truck pack, they're going to be a little bit off of this thing. But 1 truck is up and over here in the tri-oval, reminiscent of Carl Edwards there getting in the catch fence. Is now Ford Martin going to be flipping? I think the rest of the field may be able to go under him. He does. Matt DiBenedetto goes under the flipping truck of Ford Martin there in the grass. He's able to go by, so Martin the only leader that's tagged in that, but a nice handy move by DiBenedetto. I think he planned that out. He's just like, you know what? I'm just going to drive under it for the fans to provide a show, and, nice execution there out of the Motorcraft Ford.
So as if this race is going to be any crazier, we're actually catching lap traffic. I believe that is the 68 of Hesnall, the official pace truck, trying to take some laps as well.
Yes, the lap traffic there of Hesnall, who I guess we'll try to hang on here, and even if he does go a lap down, he'll give some track position to the leaders here. He's just looking for a lucky dog. I think by the time they throw a yellow flag at competition yellow, he'll get waved around the pace car anyway. So, again, not a whole lot being decided here, knowing that we'll have some yellow flags, knowing that we'll have some green flag pit stops a little later on up here, but we can at least enjoy the show. It has been 2, it has been 3, it has been 4, it has even been 5 wide racing here at Talladega Super Speedway, with right now William Paulette and Ryan Ellis, rather, who will lead that lap. I believe Ellis has the most laps led here in this race, albeit I think he's only led about 2 or 3, as he can't really stay in the lead for very long, but it's Ryan Ellis, William Paulette, Daniel Saponsky, your top 3. Paul Sutton, Justin Schuler, Will Rogers, the entirety of that top pack, as Paul Sutton does a little bit of a wheel stand here. Will he be able to keep on to the pack? I believe he will, so no trouble out of there, out of that Carolina Hurricanes truck. Matt DiBenedetto currently runs in the 9th spot, Mason St. Hilaire in 10th, Tim Johnson in 11th. That is the second pack. They're just 3 trucks. David Krisky runs in 12th, Ryan Vargas in 13th, Enrique Torres 14th, Bailey Curry's in 15th, Justin Malillo in 16th, Austin Kimbrell runs in 17th, Jeff Green in 18th, Ford Martin 19th, and Brad Perez rounds out the top 20. 21st is Stephen Ellis, 22nd is Noah Lewis, 23rd is Jerry Jordan, although he has pulled his race truck onto pit road. He will be scored a lap down after they cycle things back through. Guillem Hesnald is in 24th, also scored a lap down. 25th is Andrew Hawley. 26th, Scott Haller. 27th, Seth Eggert, who has scored 3 laps down, but he is rolling right now on pit road. So that's your 27 truck laydown here, is now we're starting to see some cars, or trucks rather, actually make their way onto pit road. David Krisky's on pit road. Bailey Curry has made his way down. So, interesting call here. Lap 9, you were talking about it a little bit earlier, Zach Johnson, that 10 laps is about what you could go on pit road. And these guys coming down a little early right before that 10-lap marker, as they were only able to go about 8 before they had to come down pit road.
So it's going to be interesting to see how this lead pack is able to shuffle out and get single file to head down pit road, because I believe this is about as much as they can run, especially with how hard they've been running in this pack.
It certainly is, and of course drafting playing a big part in that. Obviously this lead pack, they've had draft the whole race. That's going to help their fuel mileage over a couple of drivers. Oh, Justin Schuler faked pit or just went down there to, I don't know, maybe mess with these guys. Will Rogers going to come on the pit road as well. One truck was around there and did not enter pit road safely. That was Ryan Ellis, who was the race leader. He got kicked in the rear outside of pit road there. So Ryan Ellis missed pit road. Believe that'll be a black flag unless it's cleared. Actually, he clears his own black flag. So no penalty there, although he is going to lose some precious time here on pit road after things cycle through. So we'll have to see where things land. It's Justin Schuler, the lone truck, along with Matthew Lady, who has not come down pit road just yet. It's Schuler, Lady, and of course the rest of these trucks making their way off of pit road as they'll make their way forward. Lap number 10 complete, as we're on lap number 11 of 40 here in the Kickin' the Tires lower half dash at Talladega Super Speedway, in a race that I think we all asked for, Zach. I think that was one thing. After Daytona, we saw how crazy, how wild, how entertaining things were at Daytona, and I think the one thing all these drivers wanted was they wanted that and more. And that is certainly what you get here at Talladega, with how much wider it is, how the apron is in play in these trucks. And I think very early on in this race, we've seen that is that's certainly a factor that you have a lot more room to navigate with here at Talladega.
Not only that, a normal race at Talladega, you have to stay at the back of the pack. You have to, watch for wrecks, be careful, especially for the first majority of the race. Nah, this race you can just bump somebody out of the way. Just if you want the lead, just go take it. You have to be 100% the entire race.
You really do, but we'll go ahead and remind you that Universal Coin and Billion is a presenting sponsor of the Kickin' the Tires lower half dash series, and of course sponsor the prize that was eventually awarded to the overall points champion of the series in Bailey Curry. The lower half dash series will receive, or titleists also received, a 1/10 ounce, $5 certified gold coin with holder included. Hand signed by Mikey Tucker Frost, the designer of the family of eagles on the back of all U.S. Gold Eagle Bullion coins. For more information on Universal Coin and Bullion, you can visit universalcoin.com as we're working lap 12 of 40 here at Talladega Super Speedway in an event that was put on here without a lot of notice, but by the car count, it didn't take a lot of rumors flying for these drivers to want to show up and put on a show here at Talladega. We still run under the green flag. No caution flag yet has been thrown out over the speedway, and it is at least Justin Schuler who led that last time by, but as the race cycles out, I believe it is Will Rogers who, after a complete cycle of green flag pit stops, will eventually cycle out to the race lead. So he will have the top spot, followed by Paul Sutton in the second position. Let's make sure that that is correct on your leaderboard. It is. It is Justin Schuler in third, Matt Lady in fourth. Actually, it's Justin Schuler in third. Matt DiBenedetto will cycle around. And how about that? DiBenedetto, who earlier on was trying to hang on to lead draft, he's got a pack of, let's call it, 6 trucks who are all running together. The top 3, that's it. There are only 3 trucks, aside from a little bit of lap traffic and Jerry Jordan. So I think this is a good situation, Zach Johnson, for this second pack. If they can, do the old NR 2003 hotkey, stay in line and work together, I think they can go up there and run down these race leaders.
That's the big thing, though, because these guys are still bumping and banging. If they want to try and catch the leaders, they're going to have to get in line, maybe at least 2 wide. I know you could bump draft. I remember, I forget which race it was, but wasn't bump draft, or like tangoing at least, wasn't that slower than just staying behind somebody and pushing?
In certain cases, I think the bump drafting wasn't an advantage, but it seemed like at Daytona, if you could be locked onto somebody's rear end in these trucks, it would definitely be faster. But they're still racing pretty viciously up here in the second pack. DiBenedetto gets shoved out of the way by Cliche right there in the second spot as they'll work their way past a truck who is working his way off of pit road. He scored 1 lap down. That is Hesnault, who is there on the bottom side slowing out of the pace. But this second pack, you look at the speed that they're running, 139 miles per hour right now, is DiBenedetto giving a pretty hefty shove to that 26 truck. Don't think we've seen a 21 Ford push that well since Trevor Bayne at Daytona a couple of years ago. But he is giving all he can to Cliche, and it's paying off. They're running about 140 miles per hour. These guys up here at the front running about 135. So I don't think it's going to be too much longer, Zach Johnson, before this entire second pack of trucks eventually runs down our race leaders, and we'll have a battle for the lead on our hands between 10 trucks, which hasn't gone awry, has it at all, Zach?
This is, like I said, this has been absolutely insane. Let's see how they go as they cross the line here. Leaders are running a 108.732. Sapolsky in the 78 ran a 4.64, so they are catching them slowly. I think, like I said, if they can try to group up and actually work together, they might be able to catch these leaders.
They were about a second faster that last time by. So unless they can't sort things out, which Cliche wanted to go in the middle there, 3 wide of Ryan Ellis and Sapolsky. Now Ellis will just go down and give a little shot there to the Rusty Wallace-inspired scheme. Now he'll give a little reminder of maybe I didn't appreciate that too much. But that's the nice thing, Zach, about this series is we've seen a lot of anger and frustration. Oh, they're wrecking up here at the front in this pack. 1 truck sitting broadside. It's Jerry Jordan, lap traffic, who eventually makes his way out of the racing line. So the trucks in the second pack who looked like they may have had to deal with missing an accident right there, they were able to make their way safely by. That takes away a truck from the top pack, so it continues to add to the advantage that this second pack has, is they're going to run these guys down by about another second when they cross the stripe this time by. And certainly that was the case that last time by. Matt DiBenedetto was 3.5 seconds back. He is now 2.748 seconds back from the race leader. So this is eventually going to be a bigger battle for the lead once we cycle things out here. Lap 16 of 40 on the board. But that shot that Ellis was given to to Saponsky there, Zach. That's kind of what this series has all been about. We've seen a lot of tempers out of even some drivers in this field. I know even last night in the Icebox Pickup Throwdown, we saw a former Gander RV and Outdoors Truck Series champion and Brett Moffitt just flat out wreck and full throttle Santino Ferrucci after a little bit of contact earlier in the race. Matt DiBenedetto was a part of some controversy in the Pro Invitational Series with Ryan Preece. Is now DiBenedetto going to go for a spin? Nearly. He's going to keep it going straight. Matt Lady gets turned around. Saponsky going to go up end over end. So two more trucks get eliminated from this second pack. But as getting back to our point, Zach, that with this series, it's been a uniqueness that the rubbing, the fender banging, all that stuff, that's expected. When these guys come out here, they're expecting to have a little bit of fun, rough each other up, but it's all in good-natured fun. Nobody out here is really going to go home that angry at another driver. That's what this series, the kicking the tires lower half dash, has been about since the start, and I don't see it changing here tonight, especially with no points on the line.
I know that was one of their main goals. You know, as most leagues, especially what you've been seeing on TV, it's trying to mimic real life stuff, and you've been getting that anger. This is more like just for fun, just to get a lot of NASCAR drivers, personalities, media members down for Friday night, and just to have fun. That's all racing's all about, really.
That's all iRacing should be about, is having fun, although we know a couple of things, always happen in iRacing and real racing, and you can't really keep the competition completely out of it. All these drivers up here want to go up and win this race, no doubt about it, and obviously anything in iRacing will be quite competitive. You think about what's going on right now. There's some drivers competing for a $10,000 grand prize in a qualifying challenge. Is the caution flag going to be thrown for the first time tonight at Talladega Super Speedway on lap 18 of 40? Ryan Ellis and Race Control have thrown the yellow flag for the first time tonight. Of course, a couple of cars a lap down will be eventually waved around, but I think this is what we were looking for, Zach, is pretty much that halfway break that these drivers were looking forward to. This is going to be an opportunity for them to not only service their race trucks, to get some fuel added, perhaps to get some tires changed as well. But this is going to be, I think, the mid-race break. Don't know if we'll see any caution flags beyond this. This is our opportunity to cut it in half. Let these guys come down, rest a little bit, get some fuel, get some tires, and take what they've learned from the first half and apply it to the second half of this race.
Really lets people just catch their breath, because they've been going 100% since the start of this. Something to keep in mind with the way these trucks, the way they have to pit, it takes about a good 20-30 seconds if they're on to take tires or something like that. So it's going to be interesting to see the pit strategy here, because now you can take that extra time and not have to worry about going a lap down or anything like that.
Certainly not have to worry about that. So lap 18 of 40 on the board. Top 5 looking to come down pit road right now as a couple of trucks were waved around the pace car. Jerry Jordan, Saponsky, Hessenalt. They'll try to catch back up and will, I assume, as has been a custom in this series, get back on the lead lap. Right now we see everybody making their way onto pit road, and this is going to be interesting. Obviously, you'd think that if we just got one... actually, we got a little bit of a shot there from Justin Schuler, who got into Paul Sutton on pit road. So not transparent like you probably would have thought here in the iRacing service that he may have been on pit road. So it is, we're even duking it up here on pit road, which, no shocker here. But also I think most of these guys thought they were transparent here on pit road. It'll be William Paulette who exits first. Off of pit road. Second will be Will Rogers. Third, Ryan Ellis. Fourth is Justin Schuler, and fifth is Cliche. But Zach, this is going to be really interesting here. If that halfway yellow was the only one we're getting, this is going to be really close on whether these guys can go all the way the rest of the distance to what'll be 20 laps or about 19 laps once we get the green flag. If they can go the entire distance on one pit stop. We'll take the green here as the light's still on the pace car, so we may not get it till about lap 21 or 22. But that will be something these drivers will have to watch, because if we go the entire distance of 20 laps, without a caution flag, and we saw people pitting on lap 9 after 8 laps, after 9 laps. It's going to be really interesting to see if this becomes a fuel strategy game here at Talladega.
I think it's definitely going to come into play. I think the only way you're going to make it is if you're clutching or if you're like just running around here in 6 gears, by the way. That's crazy. Steven Ellis stayed out, and I noticed Tim Johnston actually did not pit. He ran through the pit stall bit. I don't know if he missed his pit or if he was avoiding the accident. So I'll have to see if they come in this time.
Well, and I think this is going to be a strategy call where maybe they come, and because of the potential fuel situation, that they may have just stayed out. No, the lights are still on the pace car, so we're not going to see the green flag this time by. So this could be a strategy to kind of save fuel. Obviously, the rest of this field came down and took fuel that last time by. Well, guess what? They've run an entire lap under caution, which when fuel strategy becomes important, they may have valued that extra fuel so much that they just decided to come down, pit a lap later, not have to waste that extra lap of fuel, albeit under caution, and try to come down and get as much fuel as possible. We'll see this time by if the lights go off the pace car and give us the 1 to go signal this time by. Lights will stay on. So that means that we'll at least be waiting until lap 22 to get the green flag. So that shortens up that at least by 1 lap on what these guys may be able to do with fuel. But I think Steven Ellis, he wouldn't be able to last very long up here, up front, with the fuel he has in his race truck now, unless he, short pit right before the caution came out. So I think for now, Ellis, smiling for the cameras, getting the lead, but I think this next time by, we'll see him come down pit road.
I'm not sure. I mean, I'm sure that they could probably clear it, but I'm not sure if he can actually go without getting at least an EOL or something, because pits are probably closed by this point. I see a lot of people coming down this time, most likely, because this should be the 2 to go. And if, usually, at least when I'm trying to super speedway race, I always try to wait till that last possible moment and go in again, just top off. Especially with how valuable fuel is here.
Certainly so, and I don't think it may be a big worry, even if you're assessed an end of longest line penalty here at Talladega. It's Talladega. You can make your way forward, although we have seen with some of the chaos, I'm sure, that's about to ensue here once we get this restart. The track position might be nice to have. Of course, you can make your way by the wrecks and do it that way without any issue. But obviously, starting up front, you get a better chance to keep the draft of that lead pack that is oh so important to trying to win a race here and stay up front. But right now, we'll give you a full race rundown here in the Kicking the Tires lower half dash. It's Steven Ellis, who has not made the trip onto pit road just yet, followed by Willem Paulette, who, out of the cars that came down pit road, he was the first one off. He runs second. Will Rogers in third, Ryan Ellis is in fourth, Justin Schuler in fifth, it is Cliché in sixth, Matt DiBenedetto in seventh, Ryan Vargas in eighth, Enrique Torres in ninth, and Brad Perez rounds out the top 10. Paul Sutton in 11th, Justin Malillo runs in the 12th spot, David Kriske in 13th, as Ellis, as we expected, pulls onto pit road at this time by. Kriske in 13th, Jeff Green runs in 14th, Matthew Lady runs in 15th, Bailey Curry, the series champion, when we were tallying points, he runs in the 16th spot. Mason St. Hilaire in 17th. Noah Lewis 18th. Austin Kimbrell in 19th. And Ford Martin rounds out the top 20. Tim Johnston 21st. It is Hessenald in 22nd. Daniel Sapotsky 23rd. Jerry Jordan in 24th. 25th is Seth Eggert. 26th is Andrew Hawley. 27th is Scott Holler, although he has gone behind the wall and will not make his way back onto the racetrack. So just 26 trucks left here. Andrew Hawley is the lone truck scored 1 lap down, although I think he's going to be assessed a wave around here eventually, and actually he'll get that at this very moment. So all 26 trucks will be put on the lead lap. Actually, I thought Hawley was going to get the wave around that time, but it seems like his truck is paused there at the back of the field for the time being. So right now, 25 trucks as it stands scored on the lead lap. It's Paulette, Rogers, Ellis, Schuler, and Cliché, your top 5. And, the pace truck lights are still on there, Zach, so we're going to have to go around for another lap under caution.
I was going to make a note that I was really surprised that nobody pit again, but I guess they didn't have the 2 to go at that time, so One thing I really wish they would fix with iRacing, the pace speed, 65 miles an hour. You think these we got like what 2.5 minute laps under caution, which is good probably for saving fuel, but you have to wonder if it's going to be it's getting in their heads at all, if it's going to break their focus or anything like that.
Well, you have to think that 65, or actually what the pace truck or pace car is running right now, it is a steady 65 miles an hour, which of course is just the pace speed set at this racetrack in iRacing. So for a lot of the series that run here on iRacing, whether it be the Cup cars, the Gander RV and Outdoors trucks, the Xfinity cars that you would mostly see out here at Talladega, that's a pretty normal pace speed. For these trucks, these things aren't meant to be wound up at 60, 70 miles per hour the entire time. So at 65 miles an hour, these trucks are running about half of their speed capacity. So it's not a case where you're using a lot more fuel than you would be, say if you were running fourth gear or third gear, running low RPMs in a Cup car at 65 miles an hour. And these trucks, you're using more to try and get this truck at 65 miles an hour, so you're using more fuel than you would typically see in a Cup car. And because of that, I think that's why we saw about 7 or 8 trucks make their way onto pit road to try and top off for fuel. Ford Martin, Austin Kimbrell, Bailey Curry, just to mention a couple of others in Jeff Green, Enrique Torres. They also came down onto pit road to try and service their trucks. And I'm sure, like you mentioned, Zach, top off fuel, which again, they're giving up track position in doing so, but I don't think they're losing a whole lot. If they stay out of accidents, they're not going to be too hurt by this track position that they lost.
If anything, I feel like they'd gain if the strategy plays right. I'm really surprised that not more people went down. Like I said before, I was expecting like half the field, if not more.
So, lap number, let's call it 23, is when we'll get the green flag out of 40. We had a 3-lap heat race a little bit earlier on. It was won by Cliche. Kimbrell and Brad Perez rounded out your top 3 in that competition. But, of course, this is where it all comes full circle. Don't know if we'll get any more caution flags, so this is where the money meets the road, or rubber meets the road, so to speak, as Paulette, Rogers, and Ellis will try to lead us to the green flag and what will be now the money time, if you will, for these guys to not only race each other, but try to get through all this chaos, hold your track position, and in the case in any race at Talladega Superspeedway, find a way to be around, stick around, and have a chance to win at the end of the race. So the iRacing Mustang pace car will make his venture onto pit road here in just a moment. It'll be Paulette, Rogers, Ellis, Schuler, Cliche, and DiBenedetto, your first 3 rows, as they'll get set to try and do things one more time here at Talladega, as we'll work it through the tri-oval that has seen so many great finishes over the years because of the start-finish line that is all the way over here towards turn 1. Paulette will step on the gas, and he may have created himself a sitting duck situation as he'll get caught here in the draft, but green flag is out, and we are racing once again here in the Pro 4 light trucks here at Talladega Superspeedway, and Paulette having to do all he can to try to hang on to the race lead from Justin Schuler. Matt DiBenedetto throwing it up the middle, 3 wide in the 3rd spot. Now DiBenedetto going to look low. Ryan Ellis looking for a piece of the race lead. DiBenedetto going to give a shot to Paulette as he has nowhere else to go. They're 3 wide back there for 2nd. DiBenedetto getting shoved from Cliche. Now Ryan Ellis trying to make his way up, gives a nice little love tap there to the 21, and here comes Brad Perez, who, reminder, was spun on lap 1, so he's been out of this thing the entire time. He's running right along the apron. He has drafting help from Will Rogers. Oh, and DiBenedetto gets turned up and over in front of the field. He collects it. Actually, it's just the 21 Wood Brothers Ford who ends up finding trouble. There is a pack here in the back that he could potentially hang on to, but he is the only one who gets any worse for the wear after that one. Up front, they're now 4 wide for 2nd. Race lead this time to Ryan Ellis. Brad Perez looking for his spot in the race lead, and now they're 4 wide back there. Paul Sutton and William Paulette make contact as they're now 5 wide. William Paulette gets spun in front of the field. He collects another truck that is now up and over and on its top, and Noah Lewis, who gets turned. A couple more trucks up here in turns 1 and 2 as well. It's Andrew Holly, it's Seth Eggert, and they will escape relatively unharmed, but that is all who makes it through, as they're still scattered up here, Zach, up here for the top spot.
I have no idea how that wreck with DiBenedetto was a one-truck wreck. He was flipping through the field. Everybody just bounced off him, kept running. DiBenedetto's only, what is he, 20th right now? He's still in the main pack, I believe, so, or at least the second pack. So he's not even out of this. You'd think that's just how tough these trucks are and how crazy this racing is.
It certainly is, as he, along with Ford Martin, are trying their best to go up here and catch the lead pack with a little bit of help from Austin Kimbrell, Hessenalt, Saponsky, Jeff Green, Stephen Ellis, and Bailey Curry. That's about, let's call it 15th on back. Or actually, as we cross the stripe this time, we'll get a little more accurate, 14th on back, rather, as they're trying their best to run down a pack that is seeing a handful of action right now, as they are 4, call it 5 wide back there. A couple of trucks get turned, but somehow find their way in. Saving it, Matt Lady uses the grass to collect himself up. They're now 4 wide back there for, call it, about the 7th or 8th position. Paul Sutton gets shoved out of line as he collects his truck back up. And that's the biggest thing that we've seen here, Zach, is we can talk about you spinning. We can even talk about you flipping here, and with no damage, it's not going to hurt your truck that much, but we'll hold that thought for just a second. It was 5 wide for the race lead in turns 3 and 4. Ryan Ellis, David Kriske looking for a piece of it. Ryan Ellis now giving a shot there to Kriske up in the top spot as Kriske gets a little bit sideways. Ryan Ellis now looking for the shot that he'll get from Brad Perez there on the top side. Perez with drafting help from the number 28. That is Enrique Torres. So they are now 2 by 2 by 2. Now call it 2 by 3. Now nearly call it 2 by 4 as they are 5 cars underneath a literal blanket, as now they'll get hit, somehow scatter, somehow hold on to it. And right now it is Ryan Ellis at the top spot.
Something to point out, I know we don't have damage on, but it's still possible if you hit the fence the wrong way, or if you wreck it a certain way, it is possible to get suspension damage. So it's not 100% boys have at it. You still have to somewhat maintain your truck and try to avoid too big of a hit. So
that is
good.
Well, that is certainly the case. That suspension damage, which, of course, damage being off, so cosmetically, physically, you don't see any damage. And for the most part, even with suspension damage, that's kind of a glitch, if you will. So you have to do something pretty significant to it for that to become a factor. But once again, we are 3 wide back there for second, nearly 4 wide for the race lead, as right now it's Ryan Ellis hanging on over Brad Perez, who is in second. Perez looking for a lane to the outside as they'll bang doors directly behind them around the Ryan Vargas machine, who hangs on to 5th place. Now it's 2, now it's 3 wide for the race lead. Kriske to the bottom, middle is Ellis, top side is Brad Perez. Perez trying to look for some drafting help. He has it in the form of Bailey Curry. Up the middle is Ryan Ellis with help from Ryan Vargas, and now they make a little bit of contact further back as they go 4 wide. Bailey Curry gets shoved out of the groove as they're 4 wide once again. Here comes the 68 machine, that iRacing pace truck of Hessenalt, who now provides drafting help to Brad Perez as they work it down that Alabama Gang super stretch here at Talladega. Sun's starting to go down as the local time here in the sim, roughly 4:41 Eastern time. And of course, don't have to worry about the lights going out here at Talladega, at least in the sunlight. Obviously no virtual lights here at Talladega either. We're still now, call it about 12 trucks now looking for the race lead. They're now 4 wide for the race lead in the form of Hessenalt, trying to move his way forward. He has drafting help from Justin Melillo. Whereas Melillo come from, we haven't mentioned his name a bunch in this race, and he now gives a shot looking to push Hessenalt to the race lead. Now Melillo will be taken 3 wide directly behind him. It's the 28 of Enrique Torres now looking for the middle. He goes under the 68 of Hesnaut. Hesnaut will bang doors with the 11. They're now 3 wide directly behind him. It's 1 by 2 by 3 by 4. It looks like a bowling pin setup here, Zach, as they are scattering. One truck nearly turned around. One truck almost turned around again. Somehow they keep it working as it's now 4 wide as they'll settle it back out. Somehow Will Rogers and Cliche hung onto their race truck as they were sliding here all over the back straightaway. But it is now 2 by 3 up at the front of the field, side by side for the race lead between Ryan Ellis and now Jeff Green into the mix.
Something to note, I noticed that there's been a lot of people like up front that you don't normally see. Obviously, we've got Jeff Green, like you just mentioned, trying to fight for the lead now. Brad Perez, he's been in the running for the most part. So we see everybody pitting now, actually.
And a couple of trucks make their way onto pit road as there's contact here with some of our pitters as well. Brad Perez got his door turned around sideways, but it looks like he was able to make his way onto pit road. Matt DiBenedetto is going to pull down for service as well. Ford Martin, Stephen Ellis, Justin Schuler, William Paulette, Jerry Jordan flips here on pit road entrance. Justin Melillo pits late as he was caught up in an accident. Noah Lewis, Seth Eggert. So several trucks making their exit onto pit road this time by, but the lead pack right now has yet to come down for service. So this is really interesting, Zach. We went green a little bit later than I thought. We went green about lap 23 or so, and yet we still see people on pit road this early. So is this a case where they may not be able to make it to the end, or as what I think it may be, a strategy play to try to fill it up as soon as possible so that you nearly run out of fuel by the end, so that when you're coming down to these all-important laps, you have as little fuel as possible to try to make this truck as light and go as far forward as you can.
Something I was thinking of it, actually, because as soon as if it is if you are able to run it just enough fuel, you'll definitely have an advantage. Some of these people, I noticed they're on Ryan Vargas, for example. They only pit on that first lap, and they were able to stay out for the rest of the caution period. Ryan Vargas, Krisky, and Lady are all on their 12th lap, so they're probably going to come in this time. Most of the people in that pack, though, could have definitely stayed out earlier, though. I think they were only on like 7 or 8 laps for that run, so it's interesting how the strategy is varying here.
Only one driver peeled off from that lead pack. It was Cliche, who now is in 10th, but he was the lone driver in this front pack. It is now a 9 trucks up at the front who have not come down for service yet, although I think nearly all of them will be coming down this time by.
If they don't wreck first.
However, there is a wreck and there's a caution flag as one truck is... He jumped and landed. That was Jeff Green here in turn 4. As you saw it on your screen, he went up, hit the wall, and then landed on all fours. I'd give that a 9.5 if I was a judge there for Jeff Green, as he's able to land it. But this, Zach Johnson, is going to shake up everything, because those trucks that have yet to come down pit road, they did not want to see this yellow flag. All the drivers who just came down pit road, they stayed on the lead lap, so they're not going to have to come down and get service this caution flag, whereas all these drivers at the front, Ryan Vargas, Enrique Torres, Hesnaut, Curry, Jeff Green, and the rest of them, they're going to have to pit this time under this caution. So everybody who just pit, they just made a huge track position play to try and get forward and maintain their spot up front.
And that is if they even make it back to the pits, because they're on their 13th lap. I noticed a few people are still clutching already. Ryan Vargas and I believe it was Krisky and Lady, excuse me. They're on fumes basically, so it's going to be interesting to see if they can even make it back. I don't even think they can pit this. Well, no, they're catching the pace car, so they should be able to pit this time.
They should be able to pit as that pace car got... that pace car was digging there.
He was
on the
moving.
Back straightaway. Yeah, he was. As soon as it came out, Bodine was ready to put the throttle down in that iRacing.com Mustang pace car. So he got on it pretty quickly as the field still trying to catch the pace car here. So we will work it down on pit road this time. And as there is no surprise here, everybody who was up here in the lead pack making their way and diving down onto pit road to service their race trucks, and they really have nothing to lose here, Zach. And I'll ask you about this because I know a little bit earlier you were talking about making some test laps. Did tires ever really come to play in this thing? I know that it's Talladega. You're not going to see significant tire wear, but is it something worth doing where these guys are going to be at the back of the pack anyway? They may just think about changing tires despite how long it takes in these trucks. But actually, I think we're getting the answer in the form of no. I just saw most of these trucks pull off pit road, so don't think it's going to be it's much of an option there. Although I think we just had a situation happen here, Zach, where the cars that came down pit road were so far behind the field and didn't catch up to the pace car that these drivers that just came down pit road, they exited pit road in front of everybody who was trying to catch the pace car, so they actually didn't lose track position in it.
And it's going to be interesting to see if that actually, you know how as the pack's coming around, it closes pit road exit. I'm wondering if everybody made it through. I don't see anybody dropping back per se, so I guess it's all full and legal, and it worked out for everybody after all, maybe.
Yeah, again, this is a situation where the pace car somehow got so far out in front of everybody that the leaders had to haul to try and catch it, and of course the cars that were about 30 seconds back, they had to do so as well, but it took them so long, they were so far behind, nearly a lap down, to catch back up to the pace car on pit road that I'm looking on here with Matt DiBenedetto, who of course was one of those cars that came and pit under green. He is behind Ryan Vargas and Jeff Green, who elected to stay out that last time by. Brad Perez, another example of a car who came down and pit, but he's behind Ryan Ellis. So there's a mix here of these guys that were racing to try to catch the pace car, and if they were behind somebody who exited pit road under the yellow flag, they're going to be scored behind them. But again, what is track position really worth here?
Yeah, right.
This is what this series was meant to do. The Kickin' the Tires lower half dash was meant to be a series for fun. Track position, if you've been watching this race at all, you know that track position is not, I repeat, not going to come into play that drastically here. As now, this is what it's really going to come down to, Zach. We have 25 trucks here on the lead lap. And this is going to be for all the marbles. We don't have any more green pit stops that need to happen to get here to the end. So this is going to be where I think maybe like I was talking about earlier, we may see 7 wide or 8 wide here on the back straightaway.
I'm wondering if track position is actually going to be a bad thing because most of these wrecks have been near the front at least. So I'm wondering if you get up the front too late, if you're at risk of getting taken out or being involved in an accident. Although at the same time, you've been able to get absolutely drilled in the rear quarter panel and still be battling for the lead. So who knows?
Who knows? Certainly. We want to remind you that the Kickin' the Tires lower half dash, obviously brought to you by Kickin' the Tires, started by Jerry Jordan in 2000. Kickin' the Tires is a multi-platform motorsports media outlet, primarily focused on NASCAR while also covering AMA Supercross, the IMSA Sport Cars, NTT IndyCar Series, local short track events, and major one-off racing events for other genres as well. You can stay informed and up to date on what happens in and around the garage by visiting Kickin' the Tires. Again, that's Kickin' the Tires with no G.net. And we will continue our coverage here under the yellow flag. It's the second yellow flag that was run for competition purposes to get us to the end of the race in these Pro Light 4 trucks so they can make it to the end here without needing to come down and service their truck for fuel. This is the running order as it stands right now, which, as we were just talking about, is a bit of a mix between trucks that came down pit road under green and trucks that pit under this yellow flag. It is Will Rogers who will resume the race lead. Hessenald in second, Ryan Ellis in third, Kimbrell in fourth, Perez in fifth, Torres in sixth, Ryan Vargas in seventh, Jeff Green in eighth, Matt DiBenedetto in ninth, and Cliché rounds out the top 10. David Kriske in 11th, 12th is Daniel Saponsky, 13th is Matthew Lady, 14th is Justin Schuler, 15th Ford Martin, 16th is Stephen Ellis, 17th Tim Johnston, 18th is Bailey Curry, our former points champion, 19th is Mason St. Hilaire, and 20th is Noah Lewis. 21st, Seth Eggert. 22nd, Paul Sutton. 23rd is Jerry Jordan. 24th, Justin Malillo. 25th, William Blett. 26th is Andrew Hawley. And 27th, as mentioned, the only truck that is behind the wall. And without any damage, surprised that he's behind the wall, but he's not going to see the end of this one regardless. It is Scott Haller in 27th. So lights will go off the pace car, and we will get the green flag, the one to go signal this time, and we will take the green flag next time with what will be an indescribable 6-lap sprint here to the end. Zach, I know the racing's been crazy, but this is going to be reminiscent of that heat that we had earlier in the night that was only 3 laps. It is going to be absolutely insane racing here from here to the end.
I'm just imagining like one just moving like mass of like carnage and twisted metal and everything. Just it's gonna be crazy. It's gonna be, like you said, indescribable. Something quick to note, something that you were pointing out earlier as we were pitting. I'm wondering if tire strategy is actually a thing, because I think the only person that actually took tires was Bailey Curry. With how much these trucks are slipping and sliding around, I'm wondering if tire wear actually is a factor. I noticed a lot of people doing some honestly crazy stuff just to keep their tire or warm up the tires for this restart, but I'm wondering if Bailey Curry is gonna have an advantage here.
Well, and again, that's the one thing here, Zach, where, as somebody who's done a lot of racing here in the sim, on the oval side particularly, I feel like I have a pretty good grasp on tire wear and whether it matters. Now, at Talladega, obviously, even in a cup car, Xfinity, a truck, you're not really thinking about tire wear at Talladega. You're doing whatever you can to decrease the amount of time that you're on pit road. But this is such an unknown. These Pro Light 4 trucks are such an unknown here at Talladega. We don't really know what they're doing in terms of tire wear. Obviously, there's a ton of banking here at Talladega, but you have to note that some of these drivers have been running below the yellow line, which will take time to remind you of that the yellow line is in play. You can go below the yellow line as much as you want. You cannot go into the grass until the final lap. So the entire asphalt portion of this speedway is in play here for the last 6 laps, and coming to the checkered, you're allowed to go through the tri-oval. Cannot go through pit road. You'll be assessed a black flag for that, but you can cut through the grass, which, of course, that'll be interesting to see if these trucks, which are meant to go off-road, will take the short trip around on lap 40 here as we'll work the green flag once again. Will Rogers gets a nice launch there into turn number 1 as they'll scatter back in the pack. Will Rogers, Ryan Ellis, Hesnalt, your top 3, and they have a pretty nice advantage here over Brad Perez, but here comes Perez, a dutiful shot from Enrique Torres. Perez will look below the yellow line. He's got the momentum. He's looking for the race lead. Down the Alabama Gang super stretch. Move Brad Perez to the top spot as he has big drafting help from Enrique Torres, who now he looks to the outside for the race lead. Torres to the outside. Ryan Vargas will stay in tow directly behind the Perez machine. Back there in that third lane, it's DiBenedetto on the inside. Oh, as there's trouble here in 3 and 4, but they'll somehow find a way to keep it going even as they climb on each other. One truck nearly gets turned, one truck does get turned. It's the 2 machine who is flipping here in turn 4 on the exit of the corner. That is Daniel Sapotsky, who I believe after that is going to be out of the going. So we'll come around and take it. 5 laps to go, and Ryan Vargas leads us to the flag.
Something I was going to mention right as that caution was coming out. Brad Perez, I've noticed, he's always near the front for most of the race, but something always happens that takes him out of contention. So I'm really hoping that he'll be able to actually pull it off tonight and actually get that victory as he beats and begs Ryan Vargas for the lead.
No doubt that Miata driver has been competitive in nearly everything we've won, but like you've said, the luck has not been on his side. Perhaps it is tonight when points are no longer a matter to him. Now Brad Perez, he'll rebound for the lead as they go 5 wide behind them. That for position number 3. Once again, Brad Perez and Enrique Torres, quite a combo there as he'll shove Brad Perez to the race lead once again. Now coming up the middle, big contact there as they're 5 wide. In turn 4, Ryan Vargas and Bailey Curry are now flipping and jumping over each other. Paul Sutton is involved. A couple of trucks try to find their way and scatter through. Matt DiBenedetto included in that, Austin Kimbrell. But still, we look at the race lead that is now under siege from the 6 machine. Here comes David Kriske looking for a piece of the lead. Now he gets a door from the 11 of Jeff Green, the former NASCAR Busch Series champion, up to the top spot as now Ryan Vargas almost gets turned here in turn 1. Will Rogers all the way to the apron. He has to find a way back up on the track. He lifts the rear tires of Noah Lewis, who gets run into by the 3 machine of Austin Kimbrell. Somehow, some way, Zach, they have found a way to not completely wad him up, but now they're going to go 4 wide for the race lead. Kriske to the bottom, as now there's still 4 wide. Perez going to give drafting help, the only one with drafting help, to the 11 of Jeff Green. So Jeff Green to the race lead. Now he falls back after getting doored from Torres. Brad Perez now looking to try to make his way forward. 71 all the way on the bottom side below the yellow line. It is Ryan Ellis looking for a piece of the race lead. Kriske almost spins in front of him. Here comes Matt DiBenedetto. He gives a shot to Jeff Green. DiBenedetto giving Jeff Green the race lead as now David Kriske and DiBenedetto are 2 wide. Now here comes Will Rogers on the top side, 3 wide. We'll take it around this time by Zach. There's still 3 laps to go. We're not even racing to the checkered yet.
DiBenedetto was 11th running last time across the line. He is up to 2nd there. Now he's drifting back a little bit as there's still 4 wide batting off each other. There they go.
You'd think so. There they go. But somehow these trucks can withstand a lot of contact even as they still beat and bang off of turn number 2. Finally, a truck does a Herb McCandless wheel stand in Matthew Lady, and now they finally wrecked here on the back straightaway, and that's going to do it for a couple of trucks. Matthew Lady is involved, Hessnot is involved, Lady is involved. A couple of those trucks taken out of the going, but there are still about 15 trucks up here that have a shot at the race win. Right now, they're being led to the flag once again by Jeff Green, who was a new entry in this series last week. He raced at the Daytona Road Course, and he is blocking Torres, and now Matt DiBenedetto, who is going to go to the bottom side here in the tri-oval. 4 wide for second. Will Rogers gets shoved into the wall. It is once again DiBenedetto pushing Jeff Green. Popsicle sticks in the air this time by. 2 laps to go. It is Green. It is Matt DiBenedetto. It is Enrique Torres, Ryan Ellis, and Cliche, your top 5.
DiBenedetto all over the back of Jeff Green. Austin Kimbrell out of nowhere. I think this is actually, I believe, his first start. He's been race control for most of the series, so I don't think he's had a start until this week. So interesting to see him up front.
Interesting for him, certainly, as now Austin Kimbrell, who, by the way, was wrecked earlier, he's now looking to the inside of the 21 machine as they'll touch doors as they work it into 3 and 4. They're 5 wide for second for just a moment. Now they'll work at 3. Now they'll work at 2. New race leader. Oh, as they'll wreck here. Several trucks taken out of the contention now. Austin Kimbrell. Ryan Ellis is shoved far back, but it is still a 4-truck breakaway at the front of the pack. Will come around this time. They'll face the white flag as Enrique Torres and Matt DiBenedetto are side by side for the race lead. One more trip around. Matt DiBenedetto getting a shove from Ryan Vargas. He'll lead the white flag. Are they going to make it back around? Here they come for the final time in 1 and 2. Matt DiBenedetto with Torres and Vargas side by side behind him. Here comes Torres. He'll give a shot from DiBenedetto. Almost a hook right there from Paulette directly behind. Now Ryan Vargas will look to the high side, 3 wide. Once again, it's Paulette who gets turned as he'll scramble on through. 4-truck breakaway at the front of the pack. Torres, DiBenedetto, they're 2 by 2, 2 rows deep. And now Ryan Vargas has a huge run. He'll take it to the inside, 3 wide. He's looking for second. He's looking for the race lead. Oh, Vargas gets shoved there. That does him in. Matt DiBenedetto hanging on for the final time through 3 and 4. He looks to try and make a block on Cliche. He does so. They're beating and banging for second as they're 3 wide. DiBenedetto gets hooked. DiBenedetto gets turned by Torres. 2-truck breakaway at the front. It is Jeff Green. It is Cliche. Into the tri-oval. What does Jeff Green do? He'll go to the yellow line. He doesn't go all the way to the grass. One truck will go to the grass, but off of turn into the tri-oval, it is going to be Cliche who takes down the win and gets it done here at Talladega. Cliche the top spot. Will Rogers in second. Justin Malillo rebounds for third. Ryan Vargas fourth. And Jeff Green, who was second in the tri-oval, comes home rounding out the top five. Torres was also a part of that lead battle as well. He finishes up in sixth, and perhaps no bigger heartbreak than the man who led the white flag lap in Matt DiBenedetto. He finishes up in 11th. But Zach, what a race that was. We said it from beginning to end that was just something totally unique. And how about it? That was a show we didn't expect. And how about it? Cliche ends up in victory lane.
Of all people to win this race, I think I expected him least. I'm not sure where he was on the white flag lap, but he was just right place, right time, was able to pull it off. Heartbreak for the 21, heartbreak for Jeff Green, but 26 is going to be able to celebrate here through the grass. I don't know. It's pretty hard to do donuts with these things. We'll see if he'll be able to at least try it, I guess.
It's certainly difficult, but it is worth mentioning that Cliche not only won the main event that I guess the true bragging rights are bestowed upon him, he also won the 3-lap heat that we had earlier. So as much as Talladega, especially in these trucks, could have been an absolute wild card, Cliche qualified in 7th on the grid, finishes in 1st, starts from the pole for the main event, and ends up in the top spot. Once again, the biggest and hard charger, of course, is our driver who finishes up in 3rd in Justin Malillo, 22nd to 3rd. And we'll be able to get a word with Justin Malillo, as well as what we hope will be a couple of our drivers here in the next couple of moments. But no doubt about it, the kick in the tires lower half dash delivered once again. And it is Cliche who ends up taking down the checkered flag tonight. So we'll, again, as we mentioned, we'll try to catch up with the rest of our field. But before we do that, we'll give you our unofficial results here tonight. It is Cliche who takes down the top spot. Will Rogers in 2nd. Justin Malillo finishes up in 3rd. Ryan Vargas in 4th. Jeff Green in 5th. Enrique Torres in 6th. Seth Eggert 7th. Ryan Ellis in 8th. Stephen Ellis in 9th. And Tim Johnston rounds out the top 10. 11th was Matt DiBenedetto. 12th was Austin Kimbrell. 13th, Paul Sutton. 14th was Brad Perez. 15th, Jerry Jordan. How about that? A top 15 run for the owner of Kickin the Tires. He brings it home in the 15th spot. I think we'll call it, I don't have the stats in front of me, Zach, but I think that's a Kickin the Tires lower half dash best there for Jerry Jordan.
So.
16th was Justin Schuler. 17th was Matthew Lady. 18th was Hessenalt. 19th was Ford Martin. And 20th was Noah Lewis. 21st, Daniel Saponsky. 22nd, Mason St. Hilaire. 23rd, William Paulette. 24th, Bailey Curry. 25th, it was Andrew Hawley. 26th, Scott Holler. And 27th was David Kriske, who I think Kriske somehow perhaps assessed a black flag there. Somehow, because obviously he was a part of the race and was running in it, but he is right now scored 40 laps down in 27th. And of course, Josh Dowell, a little bit of race control, didn't make a start tonight, but he's listed there in the 28th spot. So again, we'll try to work on catching up with some of our top 3, but we have already caught up with our 3rd place finisher tonight, the driver of the 853 in Justin Malillo, who came out of nowhere, and, you know, that's the great thing about these trucks at Talladega is that 1 second you can be back there running in 15th like you were with 2 laps to go. You were in the 12th spot, and then all of a sudden, there at the very end, you're making moves to try and win this thing.
I'm pretty sure I restarted 2nd from last on the restart there with 6 laps to go, and I don't know how. I guess the sim racing gods were on my side tonight. I know at one point I definitely did kiss the sky at one point, but we managed to get back, and we were in it at the end, and that was really fun and really cool to have happen.
It certainly was, and you know, this was kind of a last-minute announcement to come out tonight and race and try to have some fun out here. So how how cool was it? You know, things are hopefully going to be returning to somewhat what we would call normalcy with a little bit of real life to return a little bit in the NASCAR world, which I know you're excited about that. How fun was it, especially with a couple of guys that are going to be very busy over the next couple of weeks, trying to get everything in the schedule, to be able to come out here, not have a whole lot of preparation, just come out here, have some fun, and obviously do something that's really unique and beating and banging here at Talladega.
It's definitely really unique, and I really had a lot of fun with it. Definitely want to give a huge shout out to Cody Ware, Ryan Ellis. Those guys been putting this on for the last 6 or 7 weeks during this shutdown, and they've done an incredible job with this series. I've loved being a part of it. Thanks to Kicking the Tires, Jerry Jordan, those guys for sponsoring this and keeping it going, and thanks to all the professional drivers too. It's really cool getting the crap knocked out of you by Matt DiBenedetto. It's awesome to have happen, and I look forward to these races every Friday. I hope it continues through the actual season. But if it doesn't, it was great while it lasted.
Certainly so. I don't know how busy everybody will be, especially here on whether, Friday, Saturday nights, whatever night we can make it work with everything that's kind of on the horizon and all of NASCAR's national series. It certainly does add a little bit of luster to this when you have a lot of real life drivers. Jeff Green up there running for the lead and potentially for the win at the end. That was something to see, but it definitely adds an extra element to have all these guys run it out here for you. But I think, we've talked about kind of the media versus the drivers tonight. It looks like media scored the win here. Justin, I know you finished third, and a couple of other guys had some pretty good runs. So I'd say, I'd score one for the media tonight.
Sounds good to me. Definitely good to go out there and beat the pros at their own game, even if it is virtual. It was, I know you talked about Jeff Green. He was very intimidating tonight. He put on a show for you guys, and coming down to the line, I was beating and banging with Ryan Vargas, and I barely nosed him out there. So it was fun. It was a lot of fun, and thank you guys for putting on the broadcast as well.
Certainly so. We'll hand you the mic one more time. Justin, anyone else you want to thank out there?
I want to thank everybody at iRacing for giving us an incredible product to go out here and compete on. Definitely really fun. Again, thank you to everybody involved in the Kicking the Tires lower half dash that brings it to us every week. Everybody at STN Racing, everybody at FTF Racing, my home league, everybody at the Racing Experts, and everyone who's watching.
Certainly so. Well, Justin Melillo brings it home. Third place tonight, and along with our drivers that we've been able to catch up with, I think Will Rogers, who finished up in second, we haven't necessarily been able to catch up with him just yet, but I believe we have been able to catch up with our race leader, and that is the driver who probably won his heat. He won the race and did it in pretty spectacular fashion, which I don't think we were all too surprised about. But Cliche, you get it done. How about it?
Thank you, man. Appreciate it. That was a lot of fun.
It certainly was. Well, talk about, obviously you had something figured out here, despite some of the early trouble that may have befallen you and pretty much befell everybody. But, I mean, you're eighth coming to the white flag, or seventh rather, is a refresh on my screen. So you're seventh coming to the white flag. How do you pass 7 trucks and end up in victory lane?
Yeah, honestly, I mean, it's just try to not wreck, but it's all about the big run, when you're back in the pack and you just come through. And I got lucky a little bit, I guess. I tried to push Matt DiBenedetto at the end, but I think he got wrecked, and I did it. It was fun, a lot of fun. So I appreciate Ryan Ellis inviting me and Matt DiBenedetto. So,
no doubt about it. It seemed like you and that 21 were destined to run up front, and maybe you could have made a move on them in the tri-oval. But it looks like Matt also had a little bit of had a little bit to worry about, and Enrique Torres, who was also battling for the win, he goes to block him. They get together. And again, it was you and Jeff Green. So fast forward, you start 8th on the final lap. Fast forward to the tri-oval, you have one of the best to ever do it here in Jeff Green, and it's just you two. What are you thinking when you have Jeff Green in your mirror? There's pretty much nobody else that has a real shot to chase you down. What are you thinking? What are you doing here off of turn 4 when you have Jeff Green and just Jeff Green to worry about?
Yeah, well, I mean, when I saw those guys wreck on the bottom, I mean, I never lift, and then that's how I passed Jeff, and I just never lift and just look in my mirror, try to block him as much as I could, and then I saw Will Rogers going in the grass, and I'm like, oh god, I hope it's gonna work, but just trying to block, and I made it, so I'm really happy.
I was about to say, I was wondering, because obviously the grass was inbounds for the final lap, and I was wondering, or kind of expecting that everybody would be down there, but it seemed because Green didn't elect to go down there, I guess you didn't make the decision to go down there either.
Yeah, I mean, just when I saw them wreck, I just went on the top and hope for God, and I guess it comes. So yeah, that was a lot of fun. I tried to push Matt. Me and Matt was really good. I was good pushing him, and he was good pushing me. I mean, but he just got unlucky at the end, and I got fortunate, and I won the race.
Well, you certainly did. Well, I'll go ahead and hand you the microphone one last time. No, you got probably some people to shout out there, perhaps some family, some friends that were watching, and a pretty dramatic way to get it done. The mic's all yours.
Yeah, man. Well, I just want to thank Ryan Ellis and Matt DiBenedetto for inviting me for that race. I mean, it's first race ever, so I was really happy to be a part of it. And thanks to everybody at LFR 95 and all those guys behind me. So that's a lot of fun.
It certainly is, and a perfect record that right now is unblemished in the Kickin the Tires lower half dash. 1 for 1 is the driver of 26 tonight who ends up in victory lane. And I don't know, maybe you just go out on top. You just call it a career and say, the one time I came out here, I not only won the race, I won my heat. Y'all aren't enough competition for me. I think I'm done now. So maybe you go out on top, but who knows? If we continue doing this, we'll definitely look to see you out there and hopefully be talking to you again soon.
Thank you, man. I'll try to be on top for the rest of it.
As a driver who brings it home in victory lane, the driver of the number 26 in Cliche gets it done at Talladega Superspeedway. Well, Zach, I'd say expectations were met here, without a doubt. We were expecting a bunch of chaos coming in, and I think that's what we were served tonight.
Expectations exceeded. I don't know what it is about this series. I don't know if it's the drivers or what, but we've been, like we mentioned earlier, we'll throw like the most random car and track combinations, and it's been absolutely insane, great racing every single week. So I don't know how they do it, but I've been loving every week of it, and I'm so glad I'll be able to broadcast it and be a part of it.
You certainly are. We're thankful for everybody at Kickin the Tires lower half dash, Ryan Ellis, Jerry Jordan, everybody that's responsible for putting this show on, for help getting us out here and being able to call this race and provide you all this great action that has commenced over the last month and a half or so. It's been something that each and every one of us looks forward to on these Friday, and albeit one Saturday night that we had to run this on Saturday, but I think I echo what all the other drivers out here say, in that we want this to continue, and if possible, we'll be here to bring you all the action. So, for my broadcast partner, Zach Johnson, I'm Blake McCandless saying so long from the virtual Talladega Superspeedway, where tonight, no cliche about it. Cliche gets it done and takes down the win here at Talladega. We'll be back for more of the Kickin the Tires lower half dash as our information becomes available to us. If not, and until we meet again, stay out of the wall and have a great night.